Um, so I just watched a film called Tar, um, which was an interesting film, but I don't think it basically seemed like a character study. I don't think it had anywhere near as much depth to it as it thought it did. It was shot really well. It was acted really well. I always confuse those two, but I think her name is Kate Blanchett. It might have been Tilda Swinton. I think it was Kate Blanchett. So this was Tar 2022. Um, I'm assuming like tar in Nottingham speak in Nottingham slang means bye bye. I think that maybe that going off what happens in the film, I'm going to say that that was a way of saying that this person has been tarred and feathered. Um, like, yeah, which would lead me to believe more so that this is another one of those films that so I could talk here about like me believing that that film was written in order to target people, right? Um, and I could also give a review of the film. Now, like, it would be quite strange, wouldn't it? To I think that this goes into what I've spoken about before, where they basically try to send shots at me, um, and they use shit like this. So, a woman abusing her power as an orchestrator to sleep with young women, seemingly. And I think because I, like 10, 15 years ago, said that I was much more of a lesbian than a straight man because I like sleeping with women, but I fucking hate men. Do you know what I mean? Like I do. It's not that I hate men, but like that side of men that seem to be like your sort of Tommy Robinson far right guys. And since then, I've just had numerous insults from BBC, from The Guardian, from police, making fun of the fact that like I'm not saying that I identify as a lesbian here. I'm saying that more often than not, I find men incredibly eggy. Do you know what I mean? It's such a like that side of men that go into doing shit like being a security guard or a police officer or um the types of men that would like paint ping if I had a pub if I was to paint King Dom outside the pub, or if I was to start describing myself as like a sun or a moon, like I was some sort of pagan god. Like if I was that sort of person, they're the sorts of men that make me cringe. Because as I've sort of previously spoken about before, like I think that when you have pack animals and you have things that describe themselves as alphas, but what happens is those alphas just get taken out after 4 years, and then all their children get murdered. What would be the point in living life for a 4 year reign? That seems utterly ridiculous. Um, Now, like we could talk. I've talked before about how now you could see this right now as like the police and the NHS seem to say that I have psychosis. So what you could see this as is an explanation of somebody that has psychosis, explaining how seemingly law enforcement are using creativity to attack targets. Now, if you go on to ChatGPT and you ask ChatGPT if law enforcement in the UK and the USA target people in this way, if they get individuals and if they hack their PC and if they use their life as inspiration in order to write um, films targeting them, you can do that. And what ChatGPT says, I've asked it a couple of times. What ChatGPT says is, yes, the militaries of the West essentially do use Hollywood films and music to target people. So like, and seemingly what they do with a lot of these targets is they use shit like this. Like nobody wants to be known as a woman abuser, right? So they think that by putting these shots into a package such as this, that I wouldn't talk about it. But obviously, like what the intention is to so one like being from Nottingham, you are described as like we call each other duck. It is like a, slang term, is like a friendly term, like "hey up me duck." Like I never really did that shit. I never saw a point in like you know, I used to do imitations of my grandma's accent and shit to take the piss out of her when I was a kid, but I never really saw the need to change my voice to make it more so or less so than what it is, you know. But duck is also seemingly something to do with law enforcement. We could talk about like how they've been trying to fuck me over since I was a kid. Club nights like pure filth, where 35-year-old men sold drugs to 15-year-old girls and raped them essentially to teach them a lesson from the police. We could talk about that if you want, but I've already discussed shit like this multiple times. What this seems to be for me is a so obviously this is psychosis according to the police. What this seems to be for me is my name is Domenico, which in three different ways means like as you could allude to Satanism, right? If you put Domen, that's the omen. That's the start of my name. It also ends with Nico, who Nico wrote the Prince, which is known as like the instruction manual for uh, Satanists, basically, especially politicians. Um, so you have Nico, you have the Omen, D Omen. Um, you also have that if you can break it down, you can make three eights out of it. You can put it all together and you can make three eights out of it. Uh, Domen is also like demon, you know. Personally, I think that this is why the police and the Church of England have tried to destroy my life from when I was a kid. Funnily enough, they say shit like, no, you just got outwitted, which is basically they took I had like a chief of police in my life from when I was a kid who essentially has groomed me. Uh, I then had like a pretty violent childhood, and I had people from three of the main churches in Nottingham. I've basically been harassed for to a crazy extent from people within these churches. So that's uh, the church at the intersection between Musters and Melton Road, um, in West Bridgford, Nottingham. The church in the Lace Market, um, and the church in also the church on uh, well, there's a couple that there's one by down Musters Road near the church just there. Um, so yeah, I mean that they're the sort of three main ones. Apparently, also a church called Saint Wilfrid's, which had something to do with a fire started by some like 5-year-olds. They think that that's a reason to destroy someone's child's life. Uh, which, if you want to look that up, it's St. Wilfrid's Church. So my dad told me that he started a fire in a church. What he was young when he told me this, but I then looked into this. I looked into church fires in Nottingham, and I found one just across like a field of where he would have lived at that time when he was young. I mean, I basically searched like meadows. Meadows area, Snenton area, St Anne's area, and I found one that it basically wasn't a church fire; it was a little gazebo fire, and there's still a sign in the gazebo. The gazebo's fucked, so I don't quite know why, and the church is fucked, so I don't quite know why they would. It's almost like saying, "Yeah, you ruined our thing that we've just let get overgrown with fucking pigeon shit and bottles of empty booze and syringes and shit." Do you know what I mean? Nos canisters. Like, yeah, we just let our church gazebo get fucked anyway. But seeing as some like 5-year-old set fire there 30 years ago, we went out of our way to destroy his life and his child's life. These people are fucking crazy, man. And not crazy in like the crazy sexy way, like crazy in like the why would you do that? Do you know what I mean? The fact that people go out of their way to destroy children anyway. So seemingly like I pissed off the police and the local council seem to see have seen fit to share my life um, and basically go out of their way to destroy it. Like at the minute, I'm in a situation where I took 4 jobs within like 6 months, and I was fired from each one under like crazy suspicious circumstances. The security of one job, like I basically went to speak to one of the security guards and I said, "You're harassing me, and I want a way to complain. I want a way to submit a subject access request to the head of security of this building." And basically, the security obviously didn't like that. So because what I said was that they were harassing me every time I went into the store, they would change the music. They would get security guards to harass me. Basically, they would get homeless people to stalk me, which I've talked before about these two officers. One of them was the first police officer to ever put me in handcuffs. His name is Officer Malloy. Another one was an undercover officer who runs the uh, place is called framework. Anytime that you see black and white all over something, it means that it's a police operation. And basically, they run the they basically keep telling me that I'm not allowed to talk about any of this because it's national security. It's a national security issue. Yet they won't let me make a complaint, and they keep assaulting me and stalking me and harassing me. I've spoken to Citizens Advice Bureau about this. They've said yes, it does happen. I've done my research on this. So speaking to Citizens Advice Bureau, who are a legal counsel, sort of for various issues that you can experience, um, they said yes, this does happen. Law enforcement do harass people like this. We get it all the time, but we don't deal with cases against the police. As I've said, just do your research. Like sometimes quite difficult to find out information about this on Google, but just go and search it on. Just ask ChatGPT straight up if you think that anything that I'm saying is false. And now what they've done is they've basically because I used to take time because they would stalk and harass me in every job that I've had. Going out of like any chef's job I would have, all my knives would get broken, like all the tires on my bike would get slashed all the time. People wouldn't be able to steal my bike, so they would just fuck up the lock and fuck up my bike. All these things that they like also that happen in this Tar film that they try to make out, oh no, you're insane, breaking into my flat, poisoning my cats, poisoning my water supply. Like I know that they're spiking me with drugs because I don't have orgasms anymore, which is what happened when I used to be on sertraline, and my hands feel like they're buzzing, which is also what happens when I feel like I'm on sertraline. And I had one of these undercover officers say to me, "Yo," when I talked about this, he said, "Yeah, well, you won't take your prescription, you won't take your medication." So they basically admitted to me. I've also spoken to various people about this and confronted them, and they've either broken down, admitted it, or they've gone, oh, they've tried to get me to stop talking about what I'm talking about, or they've just insulted me and said that I'm mental, which is crazy. Like, I just want to review, I just want to draw some pictures and like watch some films and have like a low level job, like, 2.5. When I was on like 3 grand a month before, I was happy. But I was on more money than that before. I don't really need it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't, and they're basically now trying to make out that I have psychosis, and they're trying to say, well, you cried wolf for me not wanting to be labeled as having psychosis. Like I was depressed because you were every single job that I had, you were getting people to go out of their way to bully me and attempt to make a victim out of me. Physical violence. Do you know what I mean? From police, from setups from criminals, going to speak to police about the violence and having them throw me out of the station. Um, so I've talked about all of this before in videos. I've also made like nearly 20 complaints to the Home Office, to the police, to intelligence, to the ICC of the police, to the Guardian, to BBC News, to Nottingham City Council. None of them reply to anything. So then I got told, yeah, you should seek legal representation. They're not going to stop until you hire a solicitor. Um, I contacted three solicitors and basically just got fobbed off. I guess the police stalk and harass. This is the thing, right? Like we talk as a society about not wanting to live in a totalitarian regime, like we are doing. Solicitors won't take cases against the police when they are making a victim out of innocent people. Seemingly, they have said that it's because they want me to be a police officer. Do you understand how crazy that is? To say we want you to be a police officer, so we're going to torture you until you cave, and then put a block on like I drew some pictures on Twitter, so they put a block on my account saying that my likes and my comments won't show up anywhere. So now seemingly I just get likes from bots that have insults in, and it's always like some homophobic insult or like I guess they think because I'm not gay that I won't talk about how many insults are like directed about being gay because they think that then people will go no smoke without fire or some crazy shit like this, right? Like it's all like and it's all like calling me a drag queen and shit. And I guess that's because like I think that women are treated unfairly in society. I can see straight through the sort of Masonic insults of how they're trying to drive them further into madness from complaining about being abused. It's crazy. It's so mad when they do this thing if they put men in female boxing matches, and then they go, "Well, you asked for equality." Like, no, I think what women are pushing for is not getting treated like scum, not being put in prison. That's not quite saying like put me in a boxing match with someone 8 times the size. Like, do you know what I mean? It's fucking crazy. Anyway, Tar. So I can break down like ways in which they are taking shots at me here if you like, but I found it really well acted from Kate Blanchett, I guess. Um, but I guess that there are parts of the film that people won't want to talk about. Stuff like when she notices her metronome, um, and she questions her child about it. And she's also like, so just prior to that, she threatened that rich kid, right? That rich kid was bullying her daughter, so she threatened her. Um, and then all of a sudden, a load of stuff starts happening. And I think that this is because I think that they want people to. So I've talked before about like I think that what's being done to me is being done to a number of people in a number of different communities. And I think that this is because of my name that this is like religious extremists, mainly seemingly Islam and Christian. Jewish people don't really seem to be fucking with me. Um, Sikhs don't really seem to be fucking with me. I don't know if it's because I've spoken complimentarily about their religions, but Islam and Christianity seem to be the main ones where they seem to be going out for my blood or whatever. Um, and I mean, I think that they're both terrible religions. So I you know, I think if I think all organized religion is bad, but I think if you're not imposing yourself on somebody else, if you don't like have a point system for recruiting people, or if you don't believe in imprisoning women into a back bedroom, then like I sort of I'm not really down with your ideologies, even if you're not trying to force other people into your religion. I think that just the way that you treat your own people is disgusting. So, um, which isn't great, and also like so I personally think that uh, because like I do with Kamala Harris or with what's the guy's name? Ronald Reagan, I can see that these are names that have satanic connotations by not just doing anagrams, but doing various other like coding exercises, I guess. The amount of numbers in the name, etc., etc. And seemingly, like I was just given that name, and what they tried to do was shape me as into a person that they could paint as devilish, right? Which is so fucking weird, man. Why couldn't you just let people live? It's not making my life more exciting. Do you know what I mean? It's making my life incredibly stressful. And like, I was just born. I was born. I was living life. I was trying to be decent to people. I made a few mistakes here and there, like everybody does, mainly through drinking. And I have uh, then had a bunch of people chastise me and go out of their way to ruin my life uh, through doing shit that they do all the time. It's gotten to the point where the last like year where they've been because I've sobered up from dealing with my stress by taking diazepam, taking painkillers for my hip. I used to like doing ketamine quite a bit. They're all downers, So like I liked they relieved the stress, and because I sobered up since about 27, so it's been about 7 years sobering up, but I'd say the last 3 years I've made a really good go of it with 1 year of struggling again, relapsing, I guess that you would say. And now they keep going, you can't drink caffeine, which is fucked up because like I'm really trying to get back into doing exercise. I was doing like 4 hours of exercise the other week. Now I'm doing nothing. And I can barely get up. It's crazy, man. Sleeping half of the day. I just want to watch it. I just don't want to do anything. Uh, Even like when I was drawing loads a couple of weeks ago, just the thought of like getting out of bed to draw was like it's almost like that was like fucking marching 20K. Do you know what I mean? So I don't quite know why they need people to be off caffeine, and for me, it's just some like AA thing where they've said that people will relapse off caffeine, and I don't buy it, to be honest with you. I don't even buy into the concept of relapsing. I think if you're going to drink a couple of times a year, then there's no fucking problem with that. Seemingly, what happens with me is I get people spiking my cigarettes and my booze when I go back to it. I can't understand any of this shit. It disgusts me. And seemingly, what they're saying is, well, anyway, this film Tar. So yeah, I thought it was well acted, but I just thought like I thought that there wasn't enough in the explanation of her relationship with her wife. I thought that there was more there. I thought that they could have done more with the relationship with whether it was her partner or her wife. I thought that they could have like towards the end it was sort of this whole like argument with her wife where it was like, oh, every relationship you've ever had in your life has been transactional apart from that one in there indicating her child. Yet you didn't really see anything about her and her child. You just saw her defend her one time and you saw her accuse her of something another time. Apart from that, you didn't see anything about the relationship with the child. Um, they tried to make out that she was like a sexual deviant, and she did this whole thing at the start where she defended, I can't remember who the fuck it was, like Brahms or some old classical composer, and this guy basically said, "Oh, after finding out how he treated some of his students, I think it's ruined his music for me." And I sort of agreed with her, but I also agree with him, you know. And for me, I don't think that the music can dictate. For me, I don't think the music should be. I don't think the music should be the fault. I think that you should still be able to listen to the music because essentially, like, a lot of people are just an imprint of their time, you know, an imprint of their time and an imprint of whatever it was that, uh, whatever negative and positive sort of influences were around at that time, whatever was in that person's aura, you know. I also think that a lot of people within the creative industry trap people up. They try to get people on charges that they can prove. Otherwise, they won't allow them into the creative world. So I would say that more often than not, uh, anybody that you know to be famous, anybody that you know to be a police officer, anybody that you know within a church, so that they don't rat about this knowledge that they have bestowed upon them, they are trapped up. They have charges hung over their head constantly, so that if they go too far, which is lucky for me, really, because I can draw pictures of Charles and Jimmy Savile. I can draw picture after picture of these people, and I'm never going to get famous, but they know to the point where they attack me and harass me, but they're never going to be able to put me in stocks over anything that would uh, amount to anything other than having a brief drug problem in my younger years. Apart from that, they have nothing, and they know that, which is why I believe. And the thing is like you can say that I'm a shit artist. I am. In terms of like, I will express myself in whatever way possible, and I'm not going to go to school to learn how somebody else says that I can express myself, which is also another seeming problem. But yeah, like I thought that so strange. I think that they're trying to attack creative people because of what happens at the end, where it said if you're strong enough to have made it through the end, then bravo or something. Uh, I think where she goes to Thailand at the end, this also is something that I've said. Like when I was in London, a chef told me that that Thailand is where they send people uh, who know too much or who are too famous to be taken down, who know too much, so that they can basically go and be paedophiles. I'm obviously not saying that everybody that goes on holiday to Thailand is a paedophile. Um, I'm saying that a girl who I would happily name, if it ever came down to it, said that and told me that it's what happened to her granddad and also what happened to a chef that at this minute in time I'm not going to name, a very famous chef with extremely famous ties, and said that both of them have been sent to Thailand and that this was because that's why they send people in the military or celebrities when they need them to cool off from something that's about to blow up. Um, we're doing great, but I guess that's why they did that at the end of the film. Um, Yeah, I mean, all in all, like I did think it was a good film, but I thought that it was a threat. I thought that it was more of a threat to people in the creative community. That's what I took that as. That basically, because what she says when somebody's talking about some composer is, he says, I don't like their music anymore, and she says, oh, to be so frivolous, whatever. And then things start going bad, do you know what I mean? She gets that injury, you don't really see what happens, but you're inclined to say that you think that she just fell over. However, you don't know that. And I would say that this is seemingly what the church did to me with, where they tried to say that I just fell over when I was heavily assaulted. Um, so I would say that, you know, a lot of this I think were threats to the creative community of keep your mouth shut or we'll take away your creativity. For me, you can take away my creativity because but I'm still always going to talk about this this bullshit that goes on, really. Now, I think that they tried to paint her in a way that was like not the best person in the world, and she seemed a little bit creepy. But can you really say that that's creepy? I mean, basically, she found a woman attractive. I guess it gets creepy when It doesn't have to be creepy necessarily, does it? But she found a woman attractive. I think the woman was sort of young, which is another way of them trying to say you're not going to talk about this. Do you know what I mean? If they make a threat like this, then basically it's their way of going. I mean, I'm sure if you wanted to, you could just go and search into like these various like rogue pedophile hunters. They're near enough always pedophiles. So I guess that's their way of they think that if people talk about that, then it somehow outs them from it somehow outs them as a paedophile, which is quite clearly if you're not a paedophile, then why would you have any problem with somebody falsely accusing or threatening in this way? Um, so yeah, I mean, I think the whole film was a threat of basically saying you'll be tarred and feathered if you talk about if you threaten the wrong person, you know, like because she's gone to that rich kid school, right, and said stop bullying my daughter or I'm gonna kill you, basically, or I'm gonna fuck up your life. Um, and they've then and then all of a sudden like stuff starts turning on in her office and somebody kills themselves and what else was there? There was other stuff that she wasn't sure if she was losing her mind sort of thing, and you think yeah, this is just threats, isn't it? It's bullshit. We really need to break down these boundaries. People need to stop being scared of because if people need to stop being scared of like what's being threatened here. You know, they're essentially saying that we will take away your creativity if you attack the wrong person. I think that people need to speak about that. That's a direct threat. That's essentially what that says to me is that they will have you up on trumped up charges to do with sexual assault, to do with triggers. They will get women, the female CIA or intelligence undercover operatives, um, people in the creative world, children to accuse you of things if you talk about injustices that these people protect. And I think for me, it's really easy to just talk about those things. It's like, what are you going to do? Yeah, like you're going to do what exactly? Hit me with some fake charges. They're going to be fake. And off the back of that, what I would then do is go out and say that Nottinghamshire police and intelligence have intentionally tried to set me up on charges that they thought would get me murdered. That's a murder charge right there. That's attempted murder. Like trying to fit somebody up with a charge that you think that would get them hung or murdered is uh, attempted murder, is it not? And the two people that I've talked about, where I've said that person told me that their priest. So I talked about this kid that I went to school with who, in either year seven or eight, told me that his priest told him that he shouldn't masturbate and that he could tell him that he could show him how to administer a body massage where he would orgasm. Like I've talked about that quite a few times, right? I think that that's their way of saying, well, it's not false. That kid, more than likely, knowing who that kid turned out to be, he would lie about this. However, I would more than happily talk about who that person is and what church they went to and what churches I went to with him and his family. But I would say that yeah, that's straight up what Tar was. I thought it was good though. I don't think it deserved. I came across it as like a best film of the year, which, like I said, I think it lacked so much. And I think that if you're going to say, well, it was intentionally empty and vapid to show that she didn't really care about those things. What she did care about was seeing her book, which was written by her, and seeing her perform well and sleeping with women. Um, so you actually think that like whoever if this I personally think again that they take anybody that has that they get these people in society and they go we're going to tell everybody that this person is satanic and then they attack them with shit like this. If they wanted and I think that they take main inspiration from individuals and I also think that they take individuals They take one thing from their life and then they apply it into all the other people's lives. So let's say that like duck is a common phrase for you to refer to a friend as in Nottingham. Let's say they're targeting like thousands of other people. They would then try and make it so that duck is somehow has some resonance in all of those people's lives. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it seems like I'm going, oh, this is all about me, when actually it's not all about me. But they are targeting me. But they're targeting me amongst a bunch of other people, and they're using all of them as using all of them as inspiration to attempt to destroy those people's lives. Looking at people like Kamala Harris and her name like being an anagram for High Rise, Karma the Devil, and Ronald Reagan 666, like Ronald Wilson Reagan, six letters, six letters, six letters. Like this happens over and over and over again. And as I've talked about with myself, I think that they're trying to turn me into a police officer or a politician. And then if they get somebody like me to talk about it, somebody that they've forced out of work 4 times in the last 6 months, and that due to the shit that I was doing, going, I want a subject access request from security. I want every bit of it. I also did the same to Tesco. I also did the same to Nottinghamshire Police. I did a number of subject access requests, and I got zero reply. And I basically then got people threatening me, saying that no, none of my creativity is ever going to get out because it's a threat to national security. And you think, well, how are you able to do this? You want me to stop talking about how much you're abusing me? This is insane. Do you know what I mean? I don't want whatever the end result is. I want a normal life. I've said this a million times. And seemingly you're just going out to further, and you think that I'm playing a game when I'm saying I don't want this. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. This is just abused people thinking that I'm one of them. It's just people that intentionally had their families go out to abuse the fuck out of them when they were a kid. So they grow up with a mentality that is akin to somebody that has had too many concussions because they think they're that paranoid, that they look out for everything, and they think that everything is a fabrication to them. So when they hear someone saying, this is fucking bullshit, I don't want anything to do with this, stop harassing me, they think, oh, he's just playing. He's trying to lull us into a false sense of security. It's so crazy, man. It's so maddening. It's so fucking crazy. But anyway, yeah, Tar. I, I don't know whether to say no Tar or Tar really, because I just don't know like what the purpose of it was, and I definitely don't know why it got best film on a bunch of lists, because uh I would say that what wasn't said still wasn't enough to make it like film of the year. But I think a load of people that want to, I think basically this is what's happening, right? What's up? This is basically what's happening. The UK and the US are afraid that we're going to war with Russia and China. Because they're afraid that we're going to war with Russia and China, they're trumping up a bunch of stuff in the media about women, about assault of women, about assault of religion, about assault on kids. I'm seeing so much shit about paedophile beating up women and Muslim Christian attacks, right? What's up, baby? Right? So, and I think that what they're doing is they're getting a bunch of children and young people to get sensitive about that. So that then when they think that when they can say that somebody is saying too much, they can burn them with these things that they have made people so sensitive to, because it's like it seems like we're in a society now where people don't want to talk to each other, right? Like everybody wants to hate each other. And one way that you do this is you create loneliness, you create people that just look at a screen all the time. You take like actual human contact away from people. And because then essentially what's happening is it's like with what I'm doing now, I'm using a screen as like a human being, right? So because feel like I've had all my friends, and they weren't, a lot of them weren't friends. They were all military kids, teachers' kids, police kids, right? So like you're having all of these people who have dropped me and they're saying that, oh no, it's because he's an asshole, right? So like I get the feeling that what's happening is like now kids are their social circle, their judgment is all via TikTok and via social media and via X. Do you know what I mean? For people my age, we still use like BBC News or The Guardian or The Telegraph or what the fuck else, The Sun, whatever else, because we were raised with newspapers, so we still use that a little bit. However, it's all one and the same. And when your sources of media are saying these are all the trigger points, it means that when the police or when the military attacks somebody with one of these trigger points, you instantly go, oh, I don't want to listen to them anymore. Fucked up, man. It basically used, they've used the will and want of decent people in order to carry out their work for them. Because they know full well that they can just make false accusations and that because of the insane amount of trigger, it's people going, it's people going, I couldn't possibly live in a world where I was treated like that. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. And the people that they seem to be targeting are people going after money, people going after actual paedophile rings, people going after money, people going after their government, people going after slavery, people talking about that minimum wage jobs are literally based on the management style is based on prison. Anybody that talks about that shit, they seem to just burn them, you know? It's fucking crazy, man. It's not crazy, though. It's completely like it's just see through. But like it's always people that seem to care, and then they say shit like, "Well, you don't know what the end goal is here, so stop talking about it." Like I don't give a shit. Anyway, yeah, Tar. I'd say it's worth watching, but I think that I think that what the connotations are don't spend too much time on anything that you enjoy. Don't become the best at anything. Um, don't be attracted to women. You know, that's seemingly like what was going on in this film. Uh, and don't be rude. Seeing a lot of this all the time where they're trying to dock freedom of speech. They're trying to get rid of freedom of speech by making it appear like somebody has said something and then dragging them into court. Because if you really look at this film, like, yeah, she was an asshole, but you can just ignore people like that. You can just not go to it. Like, if somebody's a shit teacher, you can just stop going to their classes. Do you know what I mean? And this whole like getting people to destroy their lives is insane, and I think is straight up like this was starting towards the end of Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth. What was the last queen called? Diana? I don't. This seemingly was like towards the end of her death. Um, Shit started getting a lot worse, and I think that people were gearing up for having a king. I think that the church were gearing up for having a king. And I think that now the church is carrying out essentially murder and assassination of people. And I don't even know, Charles doesn't, he doesn't actually look like somebody that wants any of that shit. He looks like an old man. He just looks like an old dude. And I think that maybe what happens is that they use people like that. I think that maybe what happens is they get decent people like actors and actresses, and they write these stories, like religions use these decent people as the front, so that then when you insult them, they can go take a look at this person's life you've just insulted, and you go, well, but they're the head of your thing. Do you know what I mean? It's what I feel like they're doing to me. They know that I'm a decent person, so they're putting me at the forefront of this thing, putting me in a situation where people could insult me or burn me. because they know that I'm decent, and they'll be able to carry out vengeance in my name when actually, like, I think it's all so fucked up, man. You know, it's crazy. Um, because, like, is anyone talking to Charles? He might be a decent person, and you've got all these people going, we fucking hate the monarchy, and, like, actually he might be an all right guy. It's probably religion that we don't like, you know. And religion, I would say, is just as bad to the monarchy, you know, as it is to us. You just hope somebody's watching the religions, you know, because it seems like utter madness what's going on. But yeah, so Tar, I just don't think it had a good message in there. I think that that's attacking the anxiety of people. I think that that's trying to make people anxious who are talented. That's what I think that that is. Hopefully, it's a cautionary tale for people that who are talented, and it's gets them to not believe that, because like, is it that bad is it that bad to fire someone, really? Like, she fires that guy at one point. Is that really bad to but it does seem like she's firing her to swap in that girl. That is bad. That is creepy. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it was altogether a tale that I still genuinely believe is attacking normal people and trying to squash down their ability.